Jai Parivrajakacharya Astotar Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Charana Ravinda Bhaktan Krishna Vishnu Prabhupada Ki ISKCON BBT Foundation save the whole world Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityaguru Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Astotar Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Namacharya Sharidas Thakur Ki Premsa Kahol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Sadhguru Bhaktivinoda Ki Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Braj Bhumi Shivandama Dama Ki Mayapur Dama Ki Purushtam Chatra Jagannath Puri Dama Ki Ganga Mai Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulasi Maharani Ki Sama Veta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Nitai Gopremanandi. All glorious and glorious, all glorious and glorious, all glorious and glorious, all glorious, let us be the Sri Guru and Sri Guranga, all glorious to Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ya etena puman nityang. Ya etena puman nityang. Ya etena puman nityang. Stutva stotrena mang bhajet. Stutva stotrena mang bhajet. Stutva stotrena mang bhajet. Ya etena pamam nityam. Stutva stotrena mang bhajet. Tasyashu samprasideyam. Tasyasu samprasideyam. Tasyasu samprasideyam. Sarva kama vareshvara. Sarva kama vareshvara. Sarva kama vareshvara. Tasyashu samprasideyam. Sarva kama vareshvara. Yare tena pamang nityam. Stutva stotrena mam bhajet. Tasyasu samprasideyam. Sarva kama vareshvara. Yare tena pamang nityam. Stutva stotrena mam bhajet. Tasyasu samprasideyam. Sarva kama vareshvara. Ya, anyone who, etena, by this, puman, human being, nityam, regularly, stutva, praying, stotrena, by the verses, mam, me, bhajet, may worship, tasya, his, ashu, very soon, samprasideyam, I shall fulfill. And this word samprasideyam is the word sam means like completely. It's just like sampradaya, samkirtan, it's the complete way of doing it. So basically here, Krishna is explaining to Brahma is that I will completely fulfill whatever request you've made. I will completely fulfill it, and I'll fulfill it perfectly. There'll be nothing left for you to desire. Sarva, all. Kama, desires. Vada Ishvara, the Lord of all benediction. No one who gives better benedictions than Krishna. Translation: any human being who prays like Brahma and who thus worships me shall very soon be blessed with the fulfillment of all his desires, for I am the Lord of all benediction. Responsively, please. Any human being who prays like Brahma and who thus worships me shall very soon be blessed with the fulfillment of all his desires. For I am the Lord of all benediction. Prabhupada's purport. The prayers offered by Brahma cannot be chanted by anyone who desires to fulfill his own sense gratification. Such prayers can be selected only by such prayers can be selected only by a person who wants to satisfy the Lord in his service. The Lord certainly fulfills all desires in regard to the transcendental loving service, but he cannot fulfill the whims of non-devotees, even when such casual devotees offer him the best of prayers. So, very, very wonderful benediction being offered here by Krishna. I remember, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, that His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami, not the Kirtaniya that comes here, but the older gentleman he came a few times to Australia, he was encouraging me to learn this whole chapter. And I was thinking, to learn a whole chapter of the Bhagavatam, my God, that'll take forever. But now that we've been going through this and studying it, I'm starting to understand why he was suggesting that, because these are really important prayers. And just the way that Brahma is praying to the Lord, and the way that the realizations he's expressing here, and the understanding of the nature of Krishna, very, very important for us to understand. And you know, he's actually, you know, we see at the conclusion of those prayers, he's praying to the Lord for benedictions. He says, please protect me so that I don't become bewildered. Please empower me so I'm able to do my service. Please guide me so I don't become deviated from my service. And these are all the prayers that we should be, you know, offering to the, not that we come before the deity and we start saying, oh, you know, I need a new car, or I need a new wife, or I need a new this, or I need a new that. These are unimportant, because these things will come about by their own accord. We don't have to make any separate endeavor for these things. But we see that Brahma, he's praying because he's understanding the importance of devotional service. He's accepted that how important it is to perform devotional service. So he's praying to the Lord, please, you know, empower me so I can serve you properly. And he's asking, you know, he's seeking this ever-increasing service. He's wanting to have, you know, a deeper and a more substantial connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And a few verses back, I'll just, if you don't mind, let's go back. Yeah, 2 verses prior to this, it says something very, because this is Krishna responding, or Narayan responding to Brahma. O Brahma, the prayers that you have chanted praising the glories of my transcendental activities, the penances you have undertaken to understand me, and your firm faith in me, all these are to be considered my causeless mercy. So essentially what he's saying there is that everything you've been doing, you know, they're rightly done, but it's coming about by my mercy. The fact that you're able to offer prayers, the fact that you're able to do service, the fact that you're able to do anything is my causeless mercy. So Krishna is helping him to understand our actual position, or his actual position. You know, it's the same for us, our actual position, in that, you know, everything we do, everything we have, everything we desire is actually coming about by Krishna's mercy. Not that we should be thinking that, you know, by my, you know, ability that I've accomplished this, you know, look how much service I've done because I'm so great, I'm so wonderful, you know, I'm so intelligent. This is like, as it's pointed out in the 16th chapter of the Gita, this is a demoniac mentality. is to be thinking that, there's these string of verses there. Ishvaraham aham bhogi siroham balavam. I am the controller, I am the enjoyer, I am powerful, I am happy. This person is my enemy, I will kill him, I've killed so many enemies before. This is the nature of a demoniac person, is they're thinking that by their own power, by their own endeavor, they're able to achieve so much. But the devotee understands that it's only by Krishna's mercy that I can do anything. Because the devotee understands that everything that is happening in this material world, everything that is happening within this material body, is coming about by Krishna's arrangement, by Krishna's mercy. Let's just say, Krishna explains that I'm the light and the sun and the moon. This is in the 10th chapter of the Gita. I'm the ability in man. If you go through the 10th chapter, you'll see that, and Krishna, he concludes the 10th chapter. He says, you should understand that all, glorious and wonderful things, they spring from but a spark of my splendor. So this is the nature of the whole creation. It's just a spark of Krishna's splendor. It's a spark of his potency. It's just, just like you take a big bushfire, and I'm sure we're going to see lots of them this year. And you just take one spark from that bushfire, and that's this whole material creation in comparison to Krishna. It's nothing, it's insignificant. Yet we become so enamored by it. We're fortunate to live in this area here, and it's such a beautiful area to live in. And it's not difficult to see why people become enamored by the material nature, because it's very attractive. But we should understand that in comparison to Krishna, this material nature is insignificant. It's just a spark of his splendor. And we, for us as devotees, it's very important to, because sometimes people say, oh, I'm not interested in all these creation type things. I'm not interested in all these, powers and glory stuff. I'm just interested in Krishna's Vrindavan Leela. But until you understand, and Prabhupada makes this point in a purport towards the end of the 10th chapter, I can't remember if it was the 10th or the 11th chapter of the Gita, that in order to understand the more intimate topics of Krishna, we need to understand his potency. We need to understand who it is we're dealing with. Because if we just get caught up in the Vrindavan pastimes without understanding his actual power, we might just think he's an ordinary person, just an ordinary cowherd boy enjoying fun, or pastimes with his friends in the forest of Vrindavan. But by understanding his potency, by understanding his prowess, by understanding how everything in this creation, everything in existence, as he says, aham savasya prabhu mata sarvam bhavatati iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhavasa manvita, that I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds, everything emanates from me. So if we understand this situation, that everything in existence comes from Krishna, how can we not worship him? How can we not offer praise to him? How can we not offer thanks to him and gratitude to him for everything we have? And this is the mood of the devotee, is we understand that everything we have, everything I have, every ability I have, has come about by Krishna's mercy. And this is why chapters like the 10th chapter of the Gita are very important, because they help us to see how everything that is wonderful in this world comes from Krishna. And we see also these prayers offered by Lord Brahma. And there's, in many places throughout the Bhagavatam, there's wonderful prayers being offered by the devotees to the Lord. And these prayers are often dealing with the Lord's potency, how powerful he is, how he creates, etc. And this is one of the reasons why for us the Srimad Bhagavatam is a very important scripture, because in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it helps us to understand who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is and what our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. And this is part of the reason why we see that the Lord is very happy with Brahma's prayers, is because Brahma has understood the relationship. He's understood that he's a servant, and he's understood that it's only by your mercy, it's only by your potency that I'm able to create this universe. So it's a very, very important chapter for us, and the mood that is expressed by Lord Brahma, this mood of complete surrender. He's just completely accepted that, my dear Lord, without your mercy, I cannot do anything. And this same mood is expressed by Kunti, in the Bhagavatam, when in the first canto, when Lord Krishna is about to return to Dwarka. And she's mentioning there that if you leave us, then our dynasty will perish, because it's only by you that we've been able to actually maintain our dynasty. You know, so again, the devotee is having this consciousness that only by the mercy of Krishna can I do anything. Only by the mercy of Krishna can I exist. And Krishna, he says, you know, I'm the fire of digestion, I'm the light, the sun, the moon, you know, I'm the fire, I'm this, you know, he says everything. So if you look at everything we have, everything we do, it's only by the mercy of Krishna we can actually achieve it. And this is actually the mood of the devotee, is to appreciate that everything that I have has come from Krishna. Therefore, the response is, I am grateful to Krishna, because everything I do has come about by his mercy. Everything I am, everything I have has come about by Krishna's mercy. And so with this reflection, the natural response is to offer gratitude. And this is what separates, or one of the many things that separates the devotees from the non-devotees, is they understand that Krishna is the source of everything. And they understand that by Krishna's mercy, I'm able to do anything. By Krishna's mercy, I'm able to achieve anything. Yet we see the non-devotees, it's the exact opposite. They're thinking that it's by my potency, it's by my ability, it's by my intelligence, by my strength that I'm able to achieve anything. And this is actually, as Krishna points out in the Gita, this is a demoniac mentality. And we should be very careful not to develop this type of mentality, and try to always be mindful that everything we have has come about by the mercy of Krishna. I just want to read something. There's a really interesting, they're all interesting verses in the Bhagavad Gita, but one verse in the 18th chapter, and a short extract from the purport. The verse is 1857. Chetasa savakamani maya sanyasya matpara buddhim yogam upashritya maschita satatam bhava. In all activities, just depend upon me. So we see this is what Brahma is doing here. He's just completely dependent upon Krishna. He's sitting on top of the lotus, and he sees the water of the Garbhodak ocean, and it's not like it's a peaceful pond or anything like that. It's quite, you know, disturbed. There's wind blowing, there's waves. It's all, you know, topsy turvy, and so he's just realizing, and he's got nothing. It's just him sitting on this lotus. You know, and he tried to find out the source of his creation. He couldn't find that, and then he saw the Lord, Garbhodak Krishna, and now we see how Narayan's appeared to him. So he's realizing in this situation where he has nothing that he's completely dependent upon Krishna for everything. Whereas a materialist won't see it like that. A materialist will try to, you know, accumulate resources so they can do things. Brahma, rather than taking this path, he's saying, no, I'm completely dependent on Krishna. Everything I have is by his mercy. And these are really important lessons for us, because we also need to develop this same consciousness that everything I have, everything I do is simply down to Krishna's mercy. It says, in all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. So we see Brahma's done the same thing. He's praying to Krishna, please protect me. Please protect me that I don't become influenced by the material modes of nature. And we see that, you know, I mentioned this the last time I gave class here, was that Prabhupada offered the same prayers. He was always offering these prayers before the deity. He says, please protect me so I will not fall down. And devotees were bewildered by that. But Prabhupada, you're a Nitya Siddha devotee, you know, you won't fall down. And she says, I won't fall down because I'm always praying to Krishna, don't let me fall down. So even though he's a very advanced Vaishnava, a very advanced devotee, he's taking shelter of Krishna at every step of the way. And Brahma is demonstrating the same thing. Even though he's a Mahajan, even though he's the head of our Sampradaya, even though he's a very, very elevated Vaishnava, still, at every step of the way, he sees that he's dependent upon Krishna for his mercy, he's dependent upon Krishna for empowerment, he's dependent upon Krishna for protection. And the thing is, if we always have this mentality, we never have to fear the material nature, because Krishna will protect us. I've told this example before. I used to go to a school in Geelong Kokul and I are both from the Geelong area, also Mahamantra as well. And it was quite a rough school. There was practically every lunchtime there was a fight, you know, and you know, sometimes knife fights and things like that. And you know, I wasn't. That just wasn't my nature. I wasn't a fighter at all. But there was this one fellow in the school. His name was Cornelius Ballard, and he was like the school tough. He was like the toughest guy in the school, and everyone was scared of him. And he happened to be my brother's best friend. So I was the little brother of the best friend. So no one ever touched me. So I was protected by that. So in the same way, if we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, we'll always be protected. Maya will never touch us. Yeah. So this is the example that's being offered by Lord Brahma. This is the example that's being offered to us by Srila Prabhupada, is to always take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Yeah. And then Krishna says to Arjuna, in such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So it means that whatever we're doing, you know, the same thing, yad karoshi, yadashnasi, yad shahosi, yad tapashashi kunteya, tad krusha marapana. So Krishna is saying to Arjuna, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, give away, whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So it means every single thing you do in your life, it doesn't matter what it is, every single thing you do it as an offering to Krishna. So, you know, you might be working in your job, you know, okay, do that as an offering to Krishna. You're making garlands, you do that as an offering for Krishna. You're speaking on the Bhagavatam, you do that as an offering for Krishna. You're offering arti. Obviously, you're offering arti, you're offering to Krishna. But, you know, everything we do, raising children, do that as an offering to Krishna. Whatever you do in life, do it as an offering for Krishna. And then Krishna explains in the next verse, he says, Subha subha parayevam mokshasekam badane sanyasa yoga vimukto mama paishasi. In this way, you'll become freed from the actions to auspicious and inauspicious works, and with your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you'll be liberated, and thus you'll come to me. So Krishna is explaining to us in the Gita how to achieve Krishna consciousness. It's actually easy. We just have to do it. That's the challenge. And in Prabhupada's purport, this is a really, really nice statement Prabhupada's making from this 1857. He said the Sanskrit word matpara is very important in this verse. It indicates that one has no goal in life save and accept acting in Krishna consciousness just to satisfy Krishna. So this is also very important. That there's a verse from the second chapter of the first canto, Attapum vidurejastra vanashama vibhagasa sunustitasya dhammasya samsiddhi haritoshana. And basically the verse is saying that it's concluded the highest perfection one can achieve in life is, you know, whether you're doing vanashama or whatever, is to satisfy this samsiddhi haritoshana. So toshana or tushti means taste or satisfaction. So the idea is samsiddhi, as I was saying, this sam means perfection. So siddhi also means so it's to say samsiddhi, it means the highest perfection you can achieve. There's nothing higher than this. Haritoshanam is to satisfy Hari. So if by all your activities you can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is perfection. There's no greater perfection than this. Then Prabhupada's purport continues. And while working in that way, one should think of Krishna only. So it's a very, very nice, and then Prabhupada, he makes a statement. I have been appointed to discharge this particular duty by Krishna. So always seeing that connection. I remember when I was a new bhakta, and I'm sure Alalanath remembers this type of stuff. It's like, you know, we used to, whenever you're doing something, you know, oh, I'm cleaning Krishna's pots, or I'm cleaning Krishna's temple, but it seems like that's not so prevalent these days. As maybe I'm just missing something, or maybe it's me whose my consciousness has changed, I don't know. But, you know, the point that Prabhupada's making here is like, whatever it is we're doing in service, you know, and as long as it's connected with Krishna, it is service. You know, if we're raising children so they can become Krishna conscious, that is devotional service. If we're, you know, fixing cars for Sankirtan devotion, whatever it is we're doing, if in our consciousness we connect it with Krishna, we understand that's devotional service. And Prabhupada's making the point here that I have been appointed to do this service by Krishna. So you're seeing the direct connection between you and Krishna. And this in itself is purifying your consciousness. By having this awareness of how everything that I'm doing is connected to Krishna, this is purifying. This helps us to become more and more Krishna conscious. But if we just go about, our activities in devotional service in a mindless fashion, that is not and when I say mindless, I mean we're not thinking of the connection of Krishna. We're not making this conscious connection between what I'm doing or between myself and Krishna. It's not going to be as purifying as doing it in the consciousness of Krishna. So this is the point that Prabhupada's making here in this purport. So, and he says, while acting in such a way, one naturally has to think of Krishna. This is perfect Krishna consciousness. So whatever activity you're doing is to try to do that activity thinking that this has been, I've been appointed to do this activity by Krishna, thinking of how it's connected to Krishna. It's just like, the ladies, they make garlands for the deities. And there's a really interesting story. I'm not suggesting our devotees do this because, maybe our consciousness is not as evolved. Just like we have our Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas, in South India they have the Alvas. The Alvas are also considered to be like their acharyas. And the Alvas are very, very elevated devotees. I can't remember the names. One of them is Namalva. There's so many. Namalva is famous because he wrote many, many prayers glorifying Ranganath. But one of the acharyas, he had an adopted daughter. And this acharya, his service was quite simple. He would grow vegetables for the deities, he would grow flowers for the deities. But his adopted daughter would make garlands for the deity. And one day, and she'd make very, very beautiful garlands. They always look so wonderful on the deity. Then one day, this Alva, he saw his adopted daughter standing in front of a mirror wearing the garland before it was offered to the deity. And he was like, he just couldn't believe she'd do such a thing. I mean, how can you be wearing this garland before it's offered to Krishna? And he said, stop it immediately. And so she stopped it. And then the next day they took the garland to the temple to offer to the deities. The priest put it on the deity, the garland fell off. What's happened here? They put the garland up, to pick the garland up again, they put it on the deity, it fell off. And they did this several times. The deity wouldn't wear the garland. And so, they didn't know what to do. Anyway, I can't remember each step of the story, but essentially what happened was one of the Savites had a dream that, no, I'm only going to wear, actually, no, I think they offered the garland from somebody else. That's what happened. They offered the garland and someone else made it because she was putting the garlands on. So they offered someone else's garland. And so that garland fell off, the deity wouldn't wear it. And then someone had a dream wherein the deity was saying, I'm only going to wear garlands that are being made by this person, by this young, the adopted daughter. And then, so the Alva, he asked his adopted daughter, please make garlands. The deity wants you to wear your garlands. And then so she made garlands again, made a garland again, and then she was trying it on the mirror. And he said, why are you doing this? He got really upset with it. He said, why are you doing this? And she said, because I'm the same height as the deity. And when I put it on me, I look in the mirror, I can see what it's going to look like on the deity. So she's not trying to enjoy it for herself. She's trying to see how it will be enjoyable for Krishna. And this is the point, this sort of really just supports this point that's being made here, is how Brahma, he's offering his service simply with this idea of how will this satisfy Krishna, how is this pleasing to Krishna. And this needs to be the motivation in all our activities. Is this activity pleasing to Krishna? And if we can act like this always, well, what we'll start seeing is the nature of our activities will change, because we'll always be considering, is this going to be pleasing to Krishna? And if the answer is no, then we won't do it. We might, hopefully we'll stop getting angry with people or doing things that are taking us from the path of Krishna consciousness. By having this consciousness of always acting for the pleasure of Krishna. And this is why, one of the reasons why these prayers are very, very important, is because Brahma is simply acting for the pleasure of Krishna. He wants to know, what do you want me to do, my Lord? How am I supposed to do this? Please give me the understanding of how to create the universe as it was before. And we see in the Lord's response He's very, very happy. Very, very happy with Lord Brahma. And one thing I find quite extraordinary in this verse or in this pastime is generally when you read these pastimes in the Bhagavatam, then the author will offer a benediction at the end of the pastime. That one who listens to these pastimes will, all their material desires will be purified. They'll go back to the spiritual realm, etc., etc. But in this prayer, Krishna's offering the benediction himself. That's not common. You won't see that very often. He says here to Brahma, where is it? Verse 40 says, any human being who prays like Brahma and who thus worships me shall very soon be blessed with the fulfillment of all his desires. So Krishna is saying that. And now I understand why, well, probably the main reason why Mahavishnu Goswami was asking me to learn these prayers, because if I offer prayers like this to Krishna, then all my spiritual desires will be fulfilled. So he was actually giving me a benediction. So now I'm going to start learning these prayers 20 years later. Yeah. But yes, but as Prabhupada's pointing out in the purport, he's not talking about material desires, because Krishna's not going to fulfill any material desires, because generally what happens when we have material desires is they take us away from Krishna. They lead us further into material entanglement. But he's saying that if you pray like this, then all your spiritual desires will be fulfilled. And this is I believe is a very, very important instruction here in this verse. Okay, any comments, questions, corrections from Lala Prabhu? Yes.
I need the microphone. I've got a bad voice.
I think it's for online.
Oh, for online. Hello, online. Thank you for...
The microphone is for the internet world.
Right. Thank you for that class. Acting in consciousness of Krishna, connecting what we do to Krishna. I'm just trying to summarize so I can ask my question in the right context. That comes from an awareness that whatever abilities we have and whatever facility we've been given comes from Krishna. I had an issue come up about a year ago in a conversation with someone where I was discussing these kind of aspects of Sharanagati, and I mentioned Queen Kunti praying for calamity, and also another important verse by Lord Brahma, Tetno Kapam Shusha Mikshamana, core ideology. And this person, I don't know if I didn't present it clearly or something. They said that's just spiritual bypassing.
Spiritual what?
Bypassing.
Okay.
Meaning using some sort of philosophical justification to not address what's going on in the world. And I had to think about it. Well, maybe they have a point, but at the same time, I'm certain Lord Brahma has a point. And are you familiar with this idea of spiritual bypassing, and how would you have addressed that?
But the thing is, like, what's going on in the world is because of lack of Krishna consciousness. Whatever is going on in the world in terms of suffering of living entities and in terms of natural disasters and wars and things like that, there's only one cause: lack of Krishna consciousness. So to think, by quoting Shastra and saying it's spiritual bypassing just seems like the person doesn't understand why these things are happening. They don't understand the basic tenets of the philosophy. The reason these things are happening. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, there's only one thing lacking in this material world. That's Krishna consciousness. That's the only thing lacking. And the reason that people suffer is because they're acting separate from Krishna. They don't see how they're part and parcel of Krishna. They're trying to enjoy the material world. They're trying, and Krishna says this in the Gita. Manasastani, Prakritishtani. They're struggling very hard with this. They're trying to enjoy this material world. This is the cause of their suffering. The very essence of their suffering is separateness from Krishna. So to say spiritual bypassing, to me, just means, sorry, you haven't understood a thing about this philosophy. Because that's the, it's like, that's the one of the basic teachings of Krishna consciousness. Okay, you're not the body. What are you? Servant of Krishna. That's the ABCs of spiritual life. You're a servant of Krishna. And if you act in any other way, you're going to suffer. And that's what's happening in this material world. They're trying to be the master. They're trying to be God. Therefore, they suffer. Very simple. Spiritual bypassing. What's that?
I don't know. I still haven't made sense of it.
No, it's a ridiculous thing to say. It's ridiculous. You know, it's just someone wants to get out there and do like mundane welfare activities. Okay, fine, do it. But don't try and connect with Krishna consciousness because it's got nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. We do welfare activities, but we distribute Krishna Prasad. We distribute the holy name. Why? Because these things will change a person's life. If someone takes Krishna Prasad, they come here, they take darshan of the deities, they take Krishna Prasad, their life is finished. Material life is finished. At some point, they will come to the platform of Krishna consciousness because their spiritual life has begun. So mundane welfare activity is of very little benefit. Yeah. That's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yes, Rita.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class. You were talking about how we are under Krishna's protection. How do we perceive that protection when we see that some of Krishna's dearmost devotees go through so many adversities? How do we understand that they're still under Krishna's protection?
There's actually Akendra who just quoted a nice verse, Tatain Kampam Susamikshmano Bunjane Vatmakrapam Vipakam Hridvagvahu Vividadan Namaste Jiveti Yo Mukti Patesavak. This verse, Lord Brahma, is from the 14th chapter of the 10th canto. He's saying that for those devotees who they perform devotional service, but all the while they're patiently suffering the reactions to their past misdeeds, they surely become eligible for liberation because it's a rightful claim. So he's saying that they suffer these reactions, but they understand it's because of my past misdeeds. And there's a really interesting purport. I quote this quite a lot from, I believe, the 12th chapter of the Gita, where Prabhupada's quoting this verse, maybe the 12th or the 13th chapter. I always get it mixed up. Anyhow, so Prabhupada quotes this verse, and he's saying how the devotee patiently suffers, these things because in my past life I've done so many sinful things, and then he like the punchline. Therefore, it is better to suffer than to protest. So we should understand why it is we're experiencing these things. It's not the material nature's got it in for me. It's not someone who's doing me, wrong. It's not that Krishna doesn't love me. It's because I've performed activities in my past life. And there's a famous tennis player, probably not famous by today's terms, but he was back in his day. I can't remember his name. Huh? No. The one that Prabhupada met. Peter Burwash, thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, so Peter Burwash, he had a 45-minute one-on-one with Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada made this point, because I remember I was in New Vrindavan a few years ago, and he did like the keynote address. He was sharing some of the things that Prabhupada had said to him that really stuck in his mind. And one of the things that stuck in his mind, which stuck in my mind, was don't hate the instrument of your karma. So what's happening to you is your karma. That's your responsibility. It's not their responsibility. And if they're doing something to you that's negative, don't worry. They'll get their karma from that. So you don't have to hate them. You don't have to respond. You don't have to do anything. Just accept it. That this has come about due to my past misdeeds. And therefore, I should just use this as an opportunity to take shelter of Krishna more and more. So I'm not identifying with the suffering. I'm not identifying with the trauma that's happening to this material body. I'm identifying myself as Gopi Bhatta Pada Kamala Dasa Dasa Anandasa. That's what we need to do, is identify ourselves with the servant of Krishna. And we see this is what Brahma's doing. He was in anxiety. He's on top of the lotus, and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know anything. And he's like, sometimes, it happens to me sometimes when I travel, it's like, you lie down at an airport somewhere just to have a sleep. I remember this, we were going to the UK or something one time, and I woke up and I had no idea where I was or who I was or anything. It's just like, because sometimes when you travel, your brain just gets a little bit sort of haywire, especially when you travel a lot. I just woke up and was like, where am I? What's going on? And it's like, So that happens. So the living entity is in this bewildered state of not knowing who they are. And we have this wonderful benediction of Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya so kindly come to this material world to deliver us. And Prabhupada has come to give us Krishna consciousness. Very, very kindly, he's come to deliver us Krishna consciousness. And the essence of what they're teaching is you're not this body. You're Krishna's eternal servant. So that means that everything that's connected with this, all this suffering, all the happiness, everything that comes with this body, it's just coming about from my past karma. And Krishna, he makes the same point in the earlier chapters of the Gita. The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and the disappearance in due course of time are just like the appearance and disappearance of summer and winter seasons. What can you do about it? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's nothing you can do to change it. Summer will come, winter will come. You can't change that. You can't stop it. You can't sort of put your hands up. No, I don't want it. You can't do anything about it. And the same with happiness and distress. It's just going to come. Just, as they say, take it on the chin. You just have to deal with it. And try to be as Krishna conscious as you can, by understanding that this is coming about due to my past misdeeds. And the more I take shelter of Krishna, the less it impacts me. Just like Kunti, she prays, Vipata Santata Shasra, Tatta Tatta Jagataro, Bhavato Darshanam Yasha, Apuna Bhavadarshanam. And this is extraordinary. She's saying, Apuna Bhavadarshanam. Let these things come again and again and again. Because when these sufferings come, because you look at what happened to the Pandavas, that was quite intense. They tried to burn them in the house of lac, they tried to poison Bhima, so many different things, were done to them. They tried to strip their wife naked in assembly of all these great powerful men. And she's praying, let it come again, bring it on. Why? Because when this happens, I think of you. And when I think of you, I no longer fear repeated birth and death. So this is the point. It is like, if we can use these calamities, if we can use these nice things that happen to us as an impetus to surrender to Krishna more and more, then we don't have to worry about them. We won't become absorbed, we won't become distracted by these things. We'll just see, okay, this is due to my past karma. Haribol. Move on. Because you're not going to change it. And there's definitely no point getting stressed about it. Because, I remember when I was in 2019, when I was in the hospital, I was really fortunate that I had good association. I had some really, Sri Prahlad was coming every second day, Murli Manohar was coming every day. And that way I was able to become more and more absorbed in thoughts of Krishna due to good association. So I wasn't worried about it. And the thing is, whether you live or die, what can you do? This is just what's going to happen. But just be absorbed in the thought of Krishna. And by being absorbed in the thought of Krishna, if you do die, you're going to take birth again. Apuna Bhavadarshan. You don't come, no birth again. From Krishna's darshan. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi.